Okay, today I'm taking a look at the Double T Quintuple I professional handheld welding machine. So we can see this is a single phase, so this is going to plug right into a regular household outlet, and is IGBT and hot start. So those are the two most important things I look for in a modern welder. Essentially what that means is if you have the amperage set correctly, you're going to be able to strike that and get it welding very easily. So I do like this little fun case that they got with it. And the biggest thing that I like about this one, out of most welders, is that you can just take this and throw it on a shelf. Where most welders, technically, you could throw those things on a shelf. You're always going to have wires and things hanging all over the place you have to find a spot for. Most of the time, if you're going to have a welder, you're going to have a little cart for it. So this thing, it's like, if you want to do just a small project real quick, this is going to be the welder that you're going to want to use for that. If you're doing a lot of welding, like if you're running a shop or something like that, then you want to get a regular welder. But this is going to be fantastic for household use if I just need to pop something together real quick. Okay. So dude got one of these little welding masks. So I can tell you for sure I never use these just because I like having two hands. But the fact that they include this in so that you can get welding if you don't want to buy anything else, you can use this and make that happen. There we go. Oh, look at that. I actually got welding rods inside here. So you got literally everything you need to start welding as soon as you get this. It's kind of cool. So we got the welding machine. It's got our grounding clamp. It has our little plug. And it even has a little hammer, a little wire brush, and a little striker so you can get that slag off. That's kind of neat. And so we've got our lens. And this is a glass lens. It's not a plastic one. So always good seeing that. Now you can see that this is not an auto darkening lens. Now for me, that's not a problem. I got started with things like this. So if you're gonna be using one of these, all you do is you just focus on what you're gonna be welding on, put the mask in front of it, and then just strike. So definitely doable, not ideal, but this will work if you wanna start welding right away. And they also got some eye protection. You don't wanna use this just for welding. You wanna still use that mask because that's gonna provide the actual protection that you need, but it's always good to have extra layers. So we got an instruction manual. So this uses 110 volts at 60 or 50 hertz. It has an input of 23 amps, so keep that in mind because most breakers are going to be about 20 amps max. But the amperage output is anywhere between 20 and 85 amps. So if we run this thing at about 60 amps, then that should be perfectly fine. And even that is probably going to be too hot for most things that we're going to be welding. So that's actually lighter than I was expecting to be. I was expecting this thing to be super heavy. You can see for our grounding clamp, we've got this little notch right here on the top. So we're just going to fit that into that slot and then give it a twist. Okay, now we can clamp this onto our piece. This does have a fairly good feeling spring on it. Now on the front we have a similar thing, and then this is going to be our welding rod holder. So it's just a thumb screw, so we loosen that up, we can put our rod in there, and then tighten it down. So that's how we change out our rods. And then this just fits into the end and tightens up. So we get that nice and tight because we want to make sure we have a very good connection there. On the top we have a dial, so this is going to be used to set the amperage. We got power over current, and this is going to be our amperage reading. We do have a fan, so it's going to be blowing directly back, so if we're going to be holding it like this, it's basically going to be blowing it away from our face. We do have a power switch, so right now it's off, and there it's on. So that's nice. As soon as we're done using it, we just shut that off and set it down. So yeah, this thing looks like fun. I look forward to using it. Okay, turn it on, and by default it looks like we're at 50 amps. Go ahead and try 40. Let's turn that up a little bit. She does weld. As far as a welder goes, it's definitely working. I don't know about the rods. I'd probably change those things out to something else, but she does weld. We got something there anyway. It's not very pretty, but it does have good penetration. So let me see if I can dial that in a little bit. So now we are at 60, we'll go with a little, there you go, 60 amps. Yeah, so that was definitely too hot. I'm going back to 50 amps. All right, and we had just about used up that rod. So this is 60 amps, this is 50 amps, and I'm definitely convinced that the 60 amps is too much for this steel. This is about 1/8 inch thick, so I would definitely go with the 50 amps just because it was not running very well. But yeah, I mean, if for nothing else, this thing could definitely weld. I would be more than happy on using this for just small projects around the house. So yeah, this thing is great. I love the portability. It's really not that heavy. For doing just small basic tasks, this thing is going to be perfect.